You were told to be soft, to open up, to show your feelings. They told you to be her protector, her provider, her peace. They said women want a good man, a man who listens, who understands, who gives. And you believed it. You did what they said. You tried to be that guy, but here you are, confused, ghosted, rejected, watching the same woman who once held on to your every word, now chasing the guy who doesn't even text her back. And deep down, something inside you knows none of what they taught me works, because in the real world, it doesn't. Calvin Reed didn't write, "Women magic lure for men still clinging to some Disney version of love." He wrote it for guys who've been burned, played, ghosted, drained, guys who are done pretending, men who are finally ready to see the game for what it is. There's a truth most men aren't allowed to say out loud. Women don't fall in love with goodness. They fall in love with gravity, with power, presence, direction, not kindness, not compliance, not your feelings. The man she fantasizes about, he's not the one putting her on a pedestal. He's the one who stands tall, rooted, and doesn't flinch when she walks away. You were raised to chase, to prove your worth, to be the one who wins her over. But here's the brutal truth. The moment you chase, you flip the dynamic. You signal, "I am beneath you. That's why I'm running after you." And in that moment, Calvin Reed says it best, never chase. Because the second you start chasing, you stop being the prize. You become the puppy. And women don't sleep with puppies. They cuddle them, praise them, maybe post a picture. But eventually, they move on to the wolf, the man who doesn't chase, who doesn't beg, who doesn't fold. He's not demanding her affection. He's commanding it just by being who he is. That's the shift. Women aren't drawn to men who beg. They're drawn to men who build. You want her to need you? Then stop needing her. Build a life so magnetic she can't help but want to be part of it. Not because you sent flowers or love songs, but because you give her something more rare: silence, direction, purpose, mystery. You're still trying to win her with effort. But women don't fall for effort. They fall for energy. The man who doesn't flinch. The man who can walk away without blinking. That's the man she remembers. That's the man she dreams about. And that's the magic lure. Reed breaks it down like this. Most men think love is a fair trade. You give attention. She gives affection. You show effort. She shows loyalty. But it's not a trade. It's a power dynamic. It's a game of who needs less, who controls the rhythm of intimacy, who withholds first. Here's what hurts the most. Women instinctively understand this. They were raised in it. They don't even need to read a book about it. From a young age, they're taught, don't give too much, don't seem too eager. Make him work for it. Let him invest more. Why? Because whoever invests more is more emotionally indebted. It's not manipulation. It's not evil. It's survival. Meanwhile, here you are, texting first, texting often, opening up too soon, pouring out your soul to someone who's not trying to bond. She's trying to calculate. She's scanning your words. Not for connection, but for leverage. Not because she's trying to hurt you, but because her mind is subconsciously asking, can I shape this man? Can I guide him? Can I own his attention? And if the answer is yes, you're no longer a mystery. You're a mirror. And here's the thing about mirrors. Women don't crave mirrors. They crave mountains. In Women Magic Lure, Reed says something that hits hard. Being emotionally open too soon isn't vulnerability. It's psychological disarmament. You think you're building trust. But what you're doing is handing her the manual to your soul. Every insecurity, every fear, every need. You haven't met yourself. You just laid it all out in her hands. And what happens once she reads it? The chase is over. Not because she's evil, but because your mystery died in your desperation. Listen, women are wired to respond to uncertainty with desire, not chaos, but masculine unpredictability. The man who reveals little, who leads with presence, not paragraphs. That's the guy who gets under her skin, not the man asking, where did I go wrong? But the man who makes her ask, why can't I stop thinking about him? You think connection means confession. You believe that the more you tell her, the more she'll trust you. But Reed lays it down. Women don't trust words. They trust energy. They trust presence, direction, detachment. She follows vibe, not explanations. When your vibe says, please pick me, please need me, she doesn't feel affection. She feels repulsion, not because she's cruel, but because biology punishes need. Need smells like weakness. It says, I can't stand on my own. I need you to fix what I can't fix myself. That's not love. That's emotional dependence dressed up in poetry. And trust me, women know the difference. They won't say it out loud. They might not even understand it consciously, but they feel it. And when a man gives away his emotional center, he becomes hers, but not in the way he hoped. He becomes hers to manage, to shape, to tolerate. He gives her power, not admiration. And here's the twist. The moment she has that power, she doesn't feel safe. She feels burdened. She starts to resent you. She starts to test you. She starts to push your buttons. Not because she wants to destroy you, but because she's silently begging, show me you still have a spine. Please don't fold. Calvin Reed says it clear as day. The moment a woman realizes she can control you emotionally, you've already lost her sexually. Why? because desire doesn't live in comfort. It lives in polarity, in tension, in contrast. The man she craves isn't the one reacting to her every mood, like he's walking on eggshells. He's the man who anchors her through those storms. She doesn't need you to get emotional with her. She needs to feel your structure, your presence, your direction. Even when she's spinning, that's what creates the spark. Not emotional equality, not matching her energy, because attraction, real, primal attraction, doesn't care about fairness. It cares about instinct. She tests you to feel your strength. She pulls away to see if you chase. She pushes just to feel your resistance, not because she's manipulative, but because she wants to know if what you're showing her is real, if your confidence has roots, if your masculinity can handle pressure without cracking, and you think you're being punished. So you start apologizing, explaining. You fold, and that, my brother, is when she loses desire. Appeasement is the death of polarity. She doesn't want a yes man. She wants a hell no man, not the guy who screams, but the one who stands firm. This is where I draw the line. That kind of man doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't flinch. He holds the frame with calm power. That man, she doesn't forget him, not because he's perfect, but because he's clear. Most men don't want to hear this part, but Reed doesn't sugarcoat it. She doesn't want to lead, even if she pretends to, even if modern culture tells her she should, because the moment you hand her the wheel, she will take it, and then drive away, not because she wanted to leave, but because you gave her no reason to stay. You gave her control and robbed her of the chance to feel your leadership. You think she wants control, but deep down, her feminine nature doesn't want to lead. She wants to surrender. But here's the thing. She can't surrender to a man with no backbone. She can't relax into her femininity if she has to carry your emotional weight. She'll start testing your limits, not because she wants chaos, but because she wants to know, can this man hold the frame when I shake it? And if you can't, she walks. Emotionally first, then physically. So what's the solution? How do you stop bleeding out your worth and getting left behind? You stop chasing validation. You stop pouring your soul into hands that never asked to hold it. You stop begging for love like it's some prize you have to earn, and instead, you start building. You build your mission. You build your purpose. You build your body, your mind, your finances, your boundaries. You become a gravitational force, so strong, so rooted, so whole, that women don't want to be with you just for attention. They want to belong to the world you've built, not because you asked them to, not because you convinced them, but because you didn't need them. And in that space, they start to feel your pull. Your clarity becomes magnetic. Your purpose becomes a lure they can't resist. Not because you played games, but because you stopped making her the prize and became the prize yourself. Most men do the opposite. They meet a beautiful woman, and immediately they give up their lives. They cancel plans, break routines, push aside priorities, lose themselves, and then cry when she loses interest. But think about it. What did you expect? You handed her the keys to your kingdom before she proved she even deserved to walk through the gate. Women don't respect free access. They respect standards, boundaries, challenge. Reed isn't saying be rude. He's saying be rare. Be rare in your time. Be rare in your availability. Be rare in your emotional dependence. Because when you become the man who doesn't need to speak to be heard, you become unforgettable. Women have seen compliments. They've heard promises. What they haven't seen is a man who can see through them, not just at them. A man who doesn't melt at the first sign of beauty, who doesn't offer his soul just because she's soft-spoken and pretty. That kind of man. He redefines her taste. He makes her feel like she's met someone from a different dimension. Because he doesn't follow the rules of attraction. He is the rule, and that's what no one will teach you. Not school, not therapy, not social media, because it breaks the illusion. It shatters the lie you were raised to believe, that being emotional, soft, available will win her love. But Reed says this bluntly: you're not failing because you're too emotional. You're failing because you gave away your edge. You've lost your masculine polarity. You were taught to seek harmony, when what actually creates attraction is friction, not chaos, but contrast. She is the wave. You are the rock. She is emotion. You are direction. She's meant to feel you hold steady, not fold under pressure, trying to match her energy. The moment you try to become her emotional twin, you disappear. She becomes the masculine force by default. And no woman wants to date her emotional twin. She doesn't want to hold you. She wants to feel held by you. That doesn't mean don't feel. It doesn't mean suppress. It means know who the hell you are, with or without her. Reed rips off the mask when he says, women don't want your soul. They want your center. They want to feel the axis inside you, the part of you that stays rooted, even when she tries to shake it, because she will test it. She has to, not because she's malicious, but because her instinct needs to know, is this man solid, or is this just an act? Every complaint, every silence, every emotional storm, it's not punishment, it's a test. And here you are, trying to fix it, trying to smooth it over, trying to win her back. But she doesn't want a fixer. She wants to feel that your confidence is real, that it can't be moved by her moods, that it won't collapse under her chaos. She's not trying to dominate you. She's hoping you'll anchor her, not with threats, not with aggression. But that power doesn't shout. It doesn't explain itself 1,000 times. It doesn't panic when someone doesn't approve. It just is. Women remember men like that. Not because they were controlling, but because they were clear. And here's the part most men reject. She doesn't really want to lead. She'll act like she does, because culture tells her she should. Because she's afraid no man will take the wheel. But when you hand her full control, when you orbit around her, she feels it. She feels the weight, the emotional burden, the loss of polarity. And then she starts to withdraw, not because she wanted out, but because you gave her nothing to stay grounded in. As Calvin Reed puts it, if you give her the wheel, don't be surprised when she drives away. So what's the solution? How do you take back your edge? You stop chasing approval. You stop needing to be chosen. You stop leading with pain and hoping someone will love you enough to fix it. You stop seeking in women what you were never taught to find in yourself. Instead, you build, you sharpen, you focus. You become rooted in something bigger than desire. You create gravity. So much gravity that people don't just want your time. They want access to your world. Not because you begged for it, but because you stopped performing for it. You showed her. Your validation doesn't come from her. It comes from results, from purpose, from clarity. That's the message Reed drives home. The pain you're feeling, it's not from her leaving. It's from realizing you had nothing outside of her, that your entire identity was built on being wanted. And when she walked, so did your self-worth. That's not her fault. It's yours, because you made her the sun and forgot to become the sky. But here's the beauty in that brutal truth. Now you know. Now you see. Now you have the choice to stop bleeding out your power just to be liked, to stop trading your truth for temporary affection, to stop handing over the steering wheel of your soul, hoping she'll drive you to happiness. You want real freedom? Then stop apologizing for your presence. Stop softening your edges just to be more acceptable. Stop acting like your strength is something to hide. Reed drops the final truth most men never reach because they're too bitter, too angry, too distracted, blaming women for their pain. Women aren't the problem. Your illusion of them is. The second you stop needing her to complete you, you become complete. Not in some fluffy, spiritual nonsense, but in real, grounded, fire-tested reality. When you reclaim your center, when you can detach without panic, when you can love without begging, when you can say no without guilt and yes without fear, you become dangerous, not cruel, not reckless, but free. That's the man Calvin Reed is calling out of you, not a player, not a manipulator, not a doormat, a man who doesn't chase, who doesn't fold, who doesn't shrink to fit anyone's comfort zone. The man who stops bleeding his identity into every woman he meets. The man who becomes so grounded, so certain, so whole that she feels it before he even speaks. This isn't about hating women. It's about stopping the performance, stopping the fantasy, stopping the belief that being chosen means you're enough. Because when you don't need to be chosen, you become unforgettable. You don't just get attention. You command respect. You don't beg to be loved. You choose who's allowed to be close. That's how the game ends. That's how you stop being forgettable. That's how you stop being broken every time someone walks away. Because now, you know, you were never supposed to orbit her. She was supposed to be drawn into your world. And if she doesn't stay, you don't chase, because you were never here to be comfort. You were born to be danger. And the world still bows to danger. So walk like a man who's already enough. Speak like a man who doesn't fear silence. Love like a man who doesn't beg. And if you do that, if you really live that, she won't be able to forget you. Because a man who doesn't need to be chosen is the one she can't stop thinking about. Thank you for watching until the end. If this video challenged your thinking or helped you see things more clearly, then it did its job. Hit the like button if you found value here. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. And don't forget to subscribe for more truth that doesn't come sugar-coated. If you've got thoughts, stories, or questions, drop them in the comments. I read every single one. See you in the next one.